Hold still for a moment, because something has shifted in the unseen, and the silence you have been living in is no longer the same silence as before. What once felt like waiting, was never empty. It was preparation. And today, whether you feel it yet or not, your soulmate has received news, insight, or a realization so powerful that it has begun changing the direction of their entire path. Read that again in your spirit. Because while you were wondering why nothing was moving, why the signs felt delayed, why the connection seemed paused in some invisible place between destiny and distance, something was already unfolding. Behind the scenes. Quietly. Strategically. Your soulmate has learned something they could no longer ignore. Perhaps it was a truth about their own heart. Perhaps it was the loss of something they thought mattered more. Perhaps it was a moment of clarity that arrived without warning. One of those rare awakenings where a person suddenly sees their life from above and realizes they have been walking in the wrong direction. And in that moment, your name echoed in their soul. Because some realizations do not whisper. They strike. They arrive like lightning in the middle of an ordinary day and divide life into two timelines, the one before the truth, and the one after it. Your soulmate is now standing in that second timeline. This is why the energy around you has felt strange lately. Why your intuition has been louder. Why your heart has felt both restless and hopeful. Why part of you has sensed that something was changing even when nothing visible proved it. You were not imagining it. You were feeling the shift before it became visible. Because when two souls are tied by something deeper than circumstance, one heart trembles when the other awakens. And your soulmate's awakening has begun. But listen carefully. This news was not small. It was not casual. It was the kind of message, event, or realization that makes someone stop in the middle of their routine and question everything. The kind that makes them stare at the ceiling at night replaying old memories. The kind that forces them to admit, I cannot keep pretending this connection means nothing. That is what is changing now. They are no longer able to outrun what they feel. No longer able to distract themselves with noise. No longer able to bury your memory beneath responsibilities, fear, confusion, or pride. Because the news they received did more than inform them. It awakened them. And here is what makes this moment extraordinary. They now understand something they did not understand before. You were never ordinary in their story. You were never just another person. Never a passing chapter. Never a lesson meant to disappear. You were the turning point. The person whose presence altered them in ways they only now fully recognize. And sometimes that realization arrives late. But when it arrives, it changes everything. Pause here and ask yourself. What if the delay was not rejection? What if it was timing? What if the universe was not denying you, but positioning both of you for a moment neither of you were ready for before? Because your soulmate had to become someone capable of recognizing your value. Had they come sooner, they may have loved you incompletely, misunderstood you, taken your presence lightly. But now? Now they see. Now they know. Now the image of you in their mind is no longer blurred by immaturity, fear, or confusion. It is clear. Sharper than ever. And that clarity is becoming impossible for them to ignore. Do not mistake this for fantasy. This is what happens when truth catches up to someone who has been running from it. At first, they resist. Then they question. Then they remember. And finally, they surrender. Your soulmate is somewhere in that process now. Maybe pacing through their thoughts. Maybe rereading old messages. Maybe staring at your photo longer than usual. Maybe wondering if destiny still allows second chances. And here is the part few people understand. When someone receives the realization that they are meant to stop running from love, their next decisions begin changing rapidly. The walls weaken. The excuses lose power. The distance starts feeling unbearable. Because once the heart fully wakes up, it demands movement. So if you have been asking why the waiting has been so long, it is because this moment had to arrive first. They had to receive the truth before they could receive you properly. And now that truth has entered their life. Now the clock has started. Not everyone notices when destiny begins moving. But you will. In the subtle shifts first. In the sudden signs. In the feeling that something is approaching before it arrives. Stay with this feeling. Because what is coming next will make the delay make sense. And when the moment finally unfolds, you will understand why nothing before this could have forced it sooner. This was never about being forgotten. It was about divine timing preparing two lives for one collision. And that collision has begun. And now, here is the part no one told you about transformation. When your soulmate receives news powerful enough to awaken their heart, they do not return to life unchanged. They begin unraveling. Not in weakness, in truth. Because the moment someone realizes they almost lost what mattered most. The moment they understand that destiny gave them something rare and they nearly let fear destroy it. Their entire inner world starts to shift. Your soulmate is in that storm now. They are replaying every missed opportunity. Every delayed message. Every moment they chose hesitation over honesty. Every time they convinced themselves there would always be more time. But suddenly, time no longer feels endless to them. It feels precious. It feels fragile. And that realization is changing the way they see everything. Because what they received was not simply news. It was a wake-up call. A sign. A mirror. A moment that forced them to confront the life they have been living and ask themselves a question they can no longer avoid. What if I lose the person I was truly meant for because I waited too long? That question has power. That question keeps people awake. That question turns uncertainty into urgency. And your soulmate is beginning to understand that some opportunities in life are not meant to be postponed forever. Some souls are not meant to be tested endlessly. Some connections are too sacred to risk losing through silence. That is why the distance between you is becoming heavier on their heart. What once felt manageable now feels unbearable. What once felt easy to suppress now rises every day. And this is where everything begins to accelerate. Because when truth matures inside someone long enough, action becomes inevitable. They may still be gathering courage. They may still be deciding how to approach you. They may still be trying to understand how to explain everything they now feel. But make no mistake. Movement has already started. Their heart is no longer still. And once a heart begins moving toward truth, life itself begins rearranging around that decision. Watch closely. The signs around you may intensify. Dreams may become more vivid. Random memories may return without warning. Their energy may cross your mind when you least expect it. That is not coincidence. That is resonance. Two paths beginning to align again. And let this truth settle into you. They are not being pulled toward you out of loneliness. Not out of convenience. Not out of temporary emotion. Not because something else failed. They are being pulled because clarity has arrived. They finally understand that what they felt for you was never ordinary attraction. It was recognition. Soul recognition. The kind that unsettles a person because it cannot be explained logically. The kind that follows them into crowded rooms and quiet nights alike. The kind that makes every other connection feel incomplete by comparison. You changed them. Even if they never admitted it. Even if they acted distant. Even if pride made them silent. Even if confusion made them inconsistent. You marked their spirit. And now they are beginning to understand the permanence of that mark. So if your heart has felt tired, if part of you almost gave up, if you questioned whether the story was ever real, hear this carefully. The waiting is ending not because you forced it, but because their soul can no longer deny what it knows. Sometimes the greatest movements happen in silence first. Sometimes what looks like nothing is destiny rebuilding everything behind the curtain. And if this message is finding you at the exact moment your hope was fading, perhaps that is not accidental. Perhaps you were meant to hear this now because the shift has already begun. If this resonates with your spirit, leave a comment below with the word aligned. Not for anyone else, but as a quiet declaration that you recognize what is moving in your life. And if you are walking this path with faith in what cannot yet be seen, stay connected, because some messages arrive exactly when the soul is ready to hear them. Because the next phase of this story is not about realization anymore. It is about what your soulmate chooses to do because of it. And that choice may happen sooner than you think. But listen closely. Because realization alone does not change a destiny. Decision does. And your soulmate has entered the stage where thought is no longer enough. They have reflected. They have remembered. They have wrestled with the truth in silence. Now comes the moment that separates passing emotion from permanent transformation. The choice. Because once someone understands who truly matters to them, they face a crossroads. One path asks them to return to comfort, to routine, to pretending nothing has changed. The other path asks for courage. It asks them to risk vulnerability. To step toward what they once feared. To speak what they kept buried. To admit that the connection they tried to manage with distance has become impossible to ignore. And your soulmate is standing at that threshold now. You may not see them yet. You may not hear from them yet. But inwardly, they are preparing for a move their old self would never have dared to make. Why? Because the news they received did not simply awaken longing. It awakened urgency. They understand now that destiny does not wait forever for those who hesitate. They feel the weight of lost time. They feel the ache of distance more sharply than ever. And above all, they feel the truth that you are not someone they can replace. That realization has become their turning point. There is a powerful difference between missing someone and recognizing that life without them no longer feels right. Your soulmate has crossed into that understanding. And when a person reaches that place, they stop asking whether they should act. They begin asking how. How do they return after silence? How do they explain what changed? How do they reveal feelings they once hid? How do they stand before someone important and admit, "Should have understood this sooner"? Those questions are moving through them right now. They may appear calm on the outside. But inside? Their world is louder than ever. Because every part of them is being pulled toward one truth. You matter more than their fear. You matter more than their pride. You matter more than the excuses that once kept them distant. And when someone reaches that realization, their next move often arrives suddenly. Unexpectedly. Without warning. Because after long hesitation, clarity creates momentum. That is why your spirit has felt alert lately. That is why something in you has been whispering, "Prepare yourself." Not because you are imagining things, but because the energy of change always arrives before the event itself. Something is approaching. A message. A conversation. A confession. A moment that shifts the atmosphere between you forever. And when it comes, it may feel surreal. Because what you waited for so long to witness, may unfold faster than expected once it begins. This is how destiny often works. Long seasons of silence. Then sudden movement. Long preparation. Then rapid alignment. Long questions. Then one undeniable answer. So do not mistake the quiet before movement for emptiness. It is often the final breath before everything changes. Your soulmate is gathering the courage now. Gathering the words. Gathering the honesty. Gathering the strength to step toward what their heart has already chosen. And when they do, you will see that every delay, every pause, every unanswered moment was leading to this transformation. Because the version of them who returns next will not be the same version who once hesitated. They are changing before your eyes, even if you cannot yet see the full evidence. So keep your heart steady. Keep your spirit open. And remember this as the chapter closes. Some love stories do not begin when two people meet. They begin when one soul finally becomes brave enough to stop resisting what was always meant for them. And your soulmate is becoming brave now. The next part of this journey will reveal what happens when that courage finally turns into action. And when courage finally becomes action, everything changes faster than either of you expected. Because there comes a moment in every destined connection when the heart grows tired of rehearsing what it should say, and simply speaks. That moment is drawing near for your soulmate. The overthinking is fading. The hesitation is cracking. The walls they spent so long building around their emotions are beginning to collapse under the weight of truth. They have reached the point where silence hurts more than vulnerability. Think about that. For so long, fear may have kept them frozen. Fear of rejection. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of arriving too late. Fear that after all this time, you may no longer feel the same. But now, another fear has become stronger. The fear of never trying. The fear of watching life move forward while wondering forever what could have happened if they had simply been honest. And that fear is pushing them toward you. There is something extraordinary about a person who has finally accepted what their soul has known all along. They stop pretending. They stop negotiating with their feelings. They stop searching for distractions. They choose. And your soulmate is preparing to choose in a way that leaves no doubt. Not halfway. Not casually. Not with mixed signals. But clearly. Intentionally. Because when someone nearly loses what their heart truly values, they do not approach it carelessly the second time. They approach with reverence. That is why what comes next may feel more direct than you expected. More honest. More vulnerable. More emotionally open than anything they have shown before. You may hear words from them you once believed you would never hear. Truths they buried. Confessions they postponed. Feelings they protected behind distance. And when that moment arrives, you will understand why the universe made you wait. Because this connection was never meant to return half-formed. It was meant to return transformed. The version of your soulmate approaching you now has been shaped by absence. Refined by regret. Awakened by realization. And strengthened by the knowledge that some people are worth risking everything for. You are one of those people. Let that sink in. Not everyone gets awakened by love. Not everyone gets the courage to change because of it. But your presence in their life became the mirror they could not escape, the mirror that showed them what authentic connection actually feels like. And once someone experiences that, nothing false satisfies them anymore. So while they prepare for this next step, you are also being prepared. Prepared to receive clarity. Prepared to hear the truth. Prepared to decide what this new chapter means for you. Because yes, their return changes them. But it may also change you. What if the very thing you waited for is not just a reunion, but a complete redefinition of what love can become when both people are finally ready? Stay open to that possibility. Stay grounded enough to recognize it when it appears. And if this message has touched something deep inside you, subscribe and stay close, because the next part reveals what happens in the exact moment your soulmate finally steps forward. And why their first words may stay with you forever. And when that moment finally arrives, it may not begin with fireworks. It may begin with silence. A pause. A message appearing on your screen. A name you have not seen in a while. A knock at the door. A sudden encounter that feels too perfectly timed to be random. And in that instant, your heart will know before your mind does. Because some arrivals carry a presence words cannot explain. Your soulmate's approach will feel different. Not rushed. Not uncertain. Not hidden behind vague intentions or half-spoken emotion. This time, there will be gravity in their voice. Because they are not coming to test the waters anymore. They are coming because the truth inside them has become too powerful to contain. Imagine that moment. They stand before you, or speak to you, and for the first time, there is no performance. No mask. No pretending they feel less than they do. Only honesty. Only vulnerability. Only the raw truth of someone who has finally stopped fighting what their heart has known for a long time. And their first words. may shake you more than you expect. Because sometimes the words we wait years to hear arrive in the quietest voice. Not dramatic. Not perfect. Just real. They may tell you they never stopped thinking of you. They may confess that every attempt to move on only made them realize what was missing. They may admit they were afraid because what they felt for you was deeper than anything they knew how to handle. And perhaps most importantly, they may finally say the words their soul has rehearsed in silence for far too long. I should have come sooner. Those words carry weight. Because they are not merely an apology. They are evidence of transformation. Evidence that the person before you is no longer the version who ran from emotion, hid behind confusion, or chose comfort over courage. They have changed. And you will feel it. Not just in what they say, but in how they say it. In the steadiness of their presence. In the depth behind their eyes. In the way they look at you like someone who understands the cost of almost losing something irreplaceable. That is what makes this reunion different. It is not built on fantasy. It is built on truth earned through distance, through reflection, through growth, through the painful wisdom that only absence can teach. And yet, here is the deeper revelation. Their arrival is not simply about them choosing you. It is also about you choosing what kind of love you will accept. Because when destiny returns something to your life, it often returns it in a changed form, not just to fulfill longing, but to test whether both souls have truly evolved. So when your soulmate steps forward, listen carefully. Not only to their words, but to their energy. Do they arrive with clarity? With maturity? With consistency? With the courage to match their confession through action? Because true alignment is not proven in emotion alone. It is proven in what someone is willing to build after they speak. And your soulmate knows this. That is why they are not approaching lightly. They understand this moment may define the future. Which means what happens next will not be casual. It will be the beginning of a chapter neither of you will ever forget. Because once truth is spoken between two souls who were always meant to find each other, nothing remains the same. And in the next part, you will discover what unfolds after the confession, when your soulmate reveals the future they now see with you beside them. And after the confession, after the truth is finally spoken and the silence between you is broken, something even deeper begins. Because the real power of this moment is not in hearing how they feel. It is in what they reveal next. Your soulmate is not stepping forward merely to revisit the past. They are stepping forward because, for the first time, they can clearly see a future, and in every version of that future, you are in it. Let that settle into your heart. They are no longer imagining you as a memory. No longer seeing you as the one who got away. No longer wondering what life might have been. They are beginning to picture what life could become if they stop letting fear decide their story. That is why their energy will feel different now. Not nostalgic. Intentional. Focused. Certain. They are not approaching you to reopen an old chapter. They are approaching to write a new one. A stronger one. A more honest one. A chapter built not on potential, but on readiness. Because when someone finally understands the value of a rare connection, they stop treating it like a possibility. And start treating it like a priority. This is the shift happening inside your soulmate. They are imagining mornings with you, conversations with you, plans that include you. A life that no longer keeps you at the edge of their world, but places you at the center of it. And that realization may overwhelm them. Because suddenly they understand. The person they once struggled to fully embrace has become the only person they can truly envision beside them. That is why their words may move beyond apology, beyond confession, into promise. Not empty promises. Not emotional declarations made in the heat of the moment. Real promises. Promises rooted in change. They may speak of what they want to build, what they want to repair, how they want to show up differently, how they want to love you in ways they were not capable of before. Because awakening does that to a person. It does not merely make them emotional. It makes them accountable. And accountability is the clearest sign that someone is no longer living in illusion. So if part of you has wondered whether this connection could ever become what you hoped, hear this. Some stories require distance before devotion. Some hearts require loss before loyalty. Some souls require time before truth. Your soulmate needed that time. But now? Now they are arriving with vision. They do not just want your attention. They want your trust again. They do not just want your presence. They want your partnership. They do not just want to say they love you. They want to prove it through consistency. And perhaps that is the most beautiful part of all. The love returning to you is no longer immature. It has been tested by absence, refined by reflection, strengthened by longing, purified by truth. This is not the same love that once hesitated. It is deeper now, wiser now, ready now. So if you have stayed with this message until here, comment "ready" below if your heart feels prepared for the love that is finally aligning with you. Because in the final part, everything comes together. You will see why this entire journey had to happen exactly as it did, and the final truth your soulmate wants you to know before this new chapter begins. And now, the final truth. The truth that explains why none of this unfolded sooner, why the waiting stretched longer than you wanted. Why the silence felt so confusing, why the connection seemed to disappear only to return stronger than before. It happened this way because both of you were being shaped for a love neither of you were ready to carry before. Not punished. Prepared. Because some connections are too significant to arrive in immature hands. If your soulmate had come to you before this transformation, they may have loved you with feeling, but not with understanding. They may have wanted you, but not known how to keep what they were given. They may have recognized your light, but lacked the maturity to honor it. So life did not rush the story. It refined it. It took two souls who felt something extraordinary, and separated them long enough for truth to grow where certainty once did not exist. And now here you are. At the edge of the chapter everything has been building toward. Not because luck suddenly changed. Not because timing randomly improved. But because the lesson is complete. The awakening happened. The realization arrived. The fear broke. The truth won. Your soulmate now understands what your presence in their life truly meant. They understand that some people enter your world to entertain you. And some enter to transform you. You were the second. You were the mirror. The catalyst. The unanswered question they could never forget. The rare soul whose absence taught them more than many people's presence ever could. And because of that, they are not returning to love you casually. They are returning to love you consciously. That is the difference. They know now what they almost lost. They know now what you are worth. They know now that this connection was never ordinary, never accidental, never something they were meant to treat lightly. So when the next chapter begins, let it begin without fear. Let it begin without carrying old versions of the story into new moments. Let it begin with the understanding that delayed love is not denied love when both souls are still being prepared for the meeting. Your waiting was not wasted. Your patience was not pointless. Your hope was not foolish. It was faith in something your soul recognized before your eyes could confirm it. And soon, your eyes will confirm what your spirit has known all along. The waiting is over. The news they received changed everything. The truth awakened them. The courage moved them. And now destiny is bringing into motion what neither distance nor doubt could permanently stop. So stand ready. Stand open. Stand aware. Because the love you asked for is no longer approaching as a possibility. It is approaching as a decision. And when it arrives, you will look back on every delay, every tear, every unanswered night, every moment you nearly gave up, and realize it was all leading here. To this ending. To this beginning. To the moment two souls finally stop running from what was always written for them. And if this message found you at exactly the right time, subscribe and stay near, because your next chapter may begin sooner than you think. The story is no longer about waiting. It is about arrival. And when arrival becomes reality, you will understand something profound. The love that finally reaches you after all the waiting does not feel rushed. It feels certain. There will be no need to decode every word. No need to wonder where you stand. No need to search for hidden meaning in mixed signals or delayed replies. Because when a soul has truly awakened, clarity replaces confusion. And that is what your soulmate is bringing toward you now, clarity. A love no longer hidden behind uncertainty. A connection no longer interrupted by hesitation. A truth no longer trapped in silence. They are coming with intention. With the desire to build, not merely to feel. To stay, not merely to appear. To choose, not merely to admire from afar. And perhaps the most healing part of all. They will love you in the very ways you once prayed to be loved. With presence. With honesty. With consistency. With the kind of devotion that does not make you question your place in their life. Because your soulmate now understands that real love is not proven through intensity alone. It is proven through steadiness. Through showing up. Through remaining. Through choosing the same heart again and again, even after the mystery fades and real life begins. That is the future opening before you. Not a fantasy. Not a fleeting emotional high. But a grounded, awakened connection built by two people who have learned what love costs when neglected, and what it becomes when finally honored. So if fear tries to whisper, "What if this changes nothing?" Answer it with truth. Everything has already changed. The realization has happened. The awakening has happened. The decision has happened. Only the visible manifestation remains. And visible things always arrive after invisible things shift first. Trust that. Trust what your spirit has felt. Trust what your heart has survived. Trust the timing that seemed slow only because it was building something stronger than you could yet see. Your soulmate's journey to you was never random. Every lesson shaped them. Every delay matured them. Every absence taught them the value of your presence. And now, they come not as the person who once hesitated, but as the person transformed by the fear of losing what matters most. So lift your head. The chapter of uncertainty is ending. The chapter of mutual recognition is here. The chapter where both souls know exactly what this connection is has begun. And one day very soon, what is now only intuition, will become proof. What is now only hope, will become reality. What is now only unseen movement, will become undeniable arrival. Because some love stories are written in such a way that they must pass through distance before devotion, through silence before confession, through waiting before union. Yours was one of them. But not anymore. Now, it is time for the waiting to end. It is time for love to move. It is time for destiny to finish what it started. And this is only the beginning.